What's up, guys? It's the Nightwing Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video, here to talk about the LEC Spring Split 2020 Finals. You obviously have no one other than G2 Esports versus Fnatic. Fnatic have 7 titles, and if they win, they will have their 8th title and the most in the LEC. But if G2 win, they will have their 7th title, tying Fnatic. You have the 2 biggest owners in the LEC, Sam, which is the owner of Fnatic, and Ocelot, the owner of G2. They're always beefing on Twitter. You always have the social media accounts going at it. It's just real fun to watch these 2 teams play, and this is a rematch of the summer 2019 split finals, so that's also a good treat as well. The difference is this time around is that Fnatic only have Selfmade and Mythian, and then you also have G2, who was basically just did one switch. They basically put Perks in mid and Caps to ADC. So there's a coach and a player change on Fnatic, and there's just a player change on G2. Now, last split, G2 were, very flexible. They played really fast. Fnatic did play really fast, but their players really weren't coming together in what they obviously needed to do. Reckless attributed that to a lot of that to basically Caps leaving, and there was this big hole that needed to be filled. Obviously, Broxah and Nemesis weren't really obviously synergizing really well. They bring in Selfmade. Selfmade works really well with Nemesis, and since they're friends, it obviously has been showing in a lot of their games. Bwipo has been playing at an absolute incredible level. You also have Reckless and Hylissang, basically the best bot lane in the LEC. They have been pretty much uncontested this whole split. They've been playing pretty well. Hylissang still has his int games, and then you obviously have Nemesis, who's looked a little bit weaker than last year, but still overall really solid and knows how he needs to play and knows what he needs to do to win the game. And I really think the big difference maker in this series is actually going to be not even just Reckless. I think one of the biggest stars right now, personally for Fnatic, is Bwipo. I think Bwipo has been an MVP quality player, and it's actually really incredible how much he's actually improved since last year, and seeing when he came into the scene in 2018. It's actually been pretty interesting to see how much Fnatic have changed while they have had Mythi this year, and seeing Fnatic in the finals facing G2 is actually not even surprising. They were ramping up all split long. They had a couple of weird losses in the spring split to like Mad Lions and Origin, but they later on found their footing, and they were obviously able to prove that they're still one of the best, if not the best teams in the LEC. And with that being said, I personally think that they have a really good shot at beating G2 this time than they did last split, because last split you could clearly tell that they could beat G2, but they're just obviously missing a few little parts in their car to get it started. Now, G2, on the other hand, has gone through quite the bit of, problems this split. Despite me being a G2 fan, I am not a fanboy, so, I can clearly tell you the problems they actually have in terms of Caps being just generally not as good as an ADC as Perks. Then you also have a clear, distinct difference between how Caps played mid versus how Perks plays mid. Now, both of them are really good at playing mid lane, but then you have Perks, who is better at playing ADC than Caps is, and then you also had a lot of people really criticizing Caps this split. This is probably like the biggest load of criticism that he's actually gotten, obviously, since he's started playing professionally. I know he took a lot of heat on Fnatic, but that wasn't nearly as much as he's been taking this split when he's been having a rough time in the ADC role. Obviously, Fnatic just took out Mad Lions. They easily pretty much beat them 3-0. There was a close game 2 there, but Fnatic still looked like the better team. G2 just got their revenge against Mad Lions, and it's really weird that Mad Lions basically got they lost 6 games in a row to the best teams in the LEC, and looking at it right now, you have to basically preview the matchup in play styles. They have different drafts they like to go with. Fnatic like to draft with a lot of early game pressure, a lot of skirmishes, a lot of team fighting early on is what they focus on. Then they like to put priority into self-made because he likes to get a lot of things done early on. He doesn't really gank for bot lane a lot, but when he does, it's really effective because Reckless is always more or less so winning, so it puts them in a bigger edge. Bwipo's always pretty much either solo killing his opposition, or he's making a big enough impact so it makes self-made not have to worry about top lane. Now, looking at what Nemesis has been doing, Nemesis can either roam effectively like he's been doing, or he can play one of his pocket picks. I liked when he was playing Veigar, I liked when he was playing Auron, I liked what I saw, and I personally think that they have a really good chance of beating G2 if they can pretty much just been playing the way they have been. I mean, they've pretty much been playing pretty well. Now, who's gonna be the big carry in the series? I think that there's a bigger mismatch right now between the two ADCs, which is Caps and Reckless. I think that Reckless is just better than Caps at playing ADC, and it's really crazy that they have a big gap right there. Yeah, I understand Caps played really well, when they played against Mad Lions, obviously, but against Reckless, it's gonna be a little bit more harder, but depends on the matchup that they get, and it depends on the resources allocated to the draft and where they have to go. Now, how G2 are going to win is they're going to have to obviously play through one person. We saw in a lot of their more recent wins, in order for them to actually start winning, they're going to actually have to play through either Caps if he's on a specific ADC, like the Aphelios or the Vayne. I think the Vayne might have to be a ban if they're obviously not going to, they have to draft around it or play against it. That's going to possibly happen. Or you have to see what's going to happen with Wunder and Jankos. I think if Perks gets Cassiopeia, that's really a big mismatch against Nemesis because Perks knows how to play Cassiopeia really well. Perks can play low econ and then pop off. Wunder can do the same thing. G2 have a lot of good things going for them, but I think the big hole in bot lane is what's really going to mess them up. But it was shown earlier today against Mad Lions that they obviously can hold their own. It just depends on which Caps do we get. Do we get Craps? Do we get Claps? But we have the top lane matchup, Bwipo versus Wunder. I mean, it's pretty much a toss-up. Both players have been playing really well. I think Wunder hasn't had the strongest split, but Bwipo has had a better split, and he's been playing a lot better. So I'm going to give the top lane matchup to Bwipo. Self-made and Jankos, that's basically a tie, but G2's early game, a lot of it does come from Jankos, and the same goes with Selfmade, so that's a tie. You have Nemesis versus Perks. I think Perks has been playing really well. There's a few games in Nemesis and Perks' lineup of games this split where they both look kind of but they've both been playing really well, honestly, from what you need to be doing as a mid laner, so I think that's a tie there. Yeah, because basically between G2 and Fnatic, you have a lot of ties. You have a lot of players that know what they need to do, know how to win the game, but it just depends on who's going to strike first. If Fnatic strike first, they could win the game. If G2 strike first, they could win the game. That's how you're going to be winning it. Then, the biggest mismatch of the actual match tomorrow is Reckless and Hylissang versus Mickey X and Caps. I think if you give Caps and Mickey something super safe / scaling, it's going to work for them, because they've kind of shown they really can't play the early game picks really well. Reckless, depending on, which picks you give him, can pop off early on if Hylissang synergizes really well with Selfmade. So far, from what I've noticed, they can get a lot of things done early on. Mickey likes to roam at certain points to really benefit his team when he's playing the Bard. So, yeah, a lot of ties here, but I think the biggest mismatch for Fnatic to win is going to be in the bot lane, while for G2, I think that Jankos, Wunder, and Perks will be able to outmatch Selfmade and Nemesis, but Bwipo is that X factor that obviously gives Fnatic the edge to a certain extent. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be, put onto draft, Grabs versus Mithy, a former player, and obviously, this is his first final. It's really crazy that Mithy retired and went to coach, and then in his first split, he was able to actually make the finals. I'm really proud of him, actually, and This is going to be a Battle of Titans. I want to see 5 games. I want to see none of this like 3-0 stomps, 3-1 stomps. Let's get 5 games from these guys because we know that can happen. And my prediction is G2 are going to win their 7th title. Hashtag G2 win. Hashtag G2 Army. But I'm not going to be surprised if Fnatic win. I'll just be really sad because my team ended up losing. But yeah, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm a Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out. See you guys later. And yeah, the LEC is going to be over after Sunday. It's been a weird split, but, you know, how could it not end more beautifully with Fnatic or G2 winning? So, yeah, whoever you're a fan of, just make sure you be respectful. You know, it's all fun, and at the end of the day, it's literally just a game to all of us, but to them, it's obviously a lot more. But, yeah, let's have some fun, and let's hope for a good finals, and let's see who's going to take their next title and be claimed the European king. Who's going to be the king? Will it be G2? Will it be Fnatic? You'll find out after the games end today or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this. Peace out, guys. Hashtag G2 win.
Hi there, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.